Okay, hello viewers out there. It's a special edition today, and we're so glad to have you join us on this program, Life and Relationship Realities with Tolu Alabi. I know this is not what everybody is usually used to because we have a smaller screen. But it's not about the screen. It's about the fact that you can hear us and the fact that you can see us, no matter how tiny the picture is. So today we're talking about something very important. It's important because we've been talking about relationship, and children are actually in the circle, in the triangle of relationship. Like you have the husband, you have the wife, and usually we'll say you have God at the apex of the triangle. But inside of all of that are the children. And so we're going to be talking about children today. I remember we talked about the abuse in relationship the other time, and we actually established a fact that most abusive adults, there's always a link to their childhood, either that they've experienced abuse from their parent, either they grew up in an abusive environment, or the values and culture that they were brought up in can affect. So we want to go down to the roots, we want to go down to the foundation. And I have these wonderful people to talk with today. I'm going to be giving the introduction. I'll start with Tinuke Giwa. Can you please just wave Tinu so that they can see you?
Yeah.
Tinuke Giwa is an educational consultant and trainer with a focus on early childhood education and the total well-being of children. She has been involved with children in various capacities as a classroom teacher, Sunday school teacher, and facilitator. Tinuka is the co-founder and partner at Track Educational Services Limited. They will talk more about that, which consults for schools and trains proprietors and teachers across the country. Tinuka is a certified Montessori expert from Modern Montessori Institute, MMI, London, where she also worked for some time training teachers. She is also a graduate of the University of Jos, yeah, Nigeria, and a member of the leadership team of the Young and Excellent Club, a non-profit dedicated to the continuous growth and development of children in rural communities in Nigeria. Tinuka believes investing in the future of our children is critical. That is why she is passionate about ensuring parents, teachers, school owners, relevant government officials, and all involved in the development of children and equipped with the necessary skills to mold balanced and exceptional children. She lives in Lagos, Nigeria, and is happily married with 3 children. Please welcome Tinuke Giwa. Hello, Tinuke. So I'm going to be introducing our colleague, our partner, partner in the business sense. And her name is Chidinma Abiakalam. Did I get that right? Did I get that?
Yes,
Okay.
you got
Okay. She has an intense passion for children. She's regarded by those who work closely with her as an advocate for the child's well-being. Chidinma is an early childhood consultant and qualified from the Modern Montessori, London. She holds a certificate in mental health for children and adolescents from the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital in Lagos. Wow. She's also a Richmond graduate, university certified community mental health facilitator. Chidinma has trained teachers under the um, ages. Oh, okay. You have to talk about that grammar later. I think Edis of the Mother Montessori Institute, London, through our work in Beautiful Minds Learning Services and Trek Educational Services. Chidinma has worked with parents and teachers for nearly a decade. She has extensively experienced implementing workshops, seminars, conferences, consultations, and counseling for parents and teachers. She is a partner at Trek Educational Services. Chidinma is happily married, also a mother of 3 teenagers and a preteen. So altogether, both of you have 7.
Yes, yes, we do.
Okay. So
That's a
this
village.
is Tinuke right here. Tinuke, can you just wave to everyone? And then we have Chidinma. Chidinma, can you just wave to everyone? We have things in common. My lovely niece name is Chidinma. I
Oh,
live with
really?
my aunt here in Jos, and our second daughter is Chidinma. And
Wow.
of course, Tinuke is my daughter's sister. And I went to University of Jos, so we have a lot. But most importantly, we are believers, so that's very good thing in common.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
want to start talking. Let's talk about what is parenting. When we're talking about parenting, what are we talking about?
Okay. Parenting is basically the process of raising children, bringing up children, training children, supporting their growth. And when we talk about growth, we're not just talking about the physical growth, because when we talk about growth, that's what people think about, maybe growing in height and everything. But there are different aspects of development. So when we talk about parenting, we're supporting and encouraging the children, supporting the children in their physical growth, their emotional, social growth, and their intellectual growth, making an environment safe for them, providing security for them, providing safety for them. All those things encompass what parenting is all about. And we know that now when we're talking about parenting, it's not just about being a biological father or mother.
Mm.
Parenting, so anybody that's involved in these things that we talked about, any adult that is involved, because we know some children actually play parenting roles, but that is not the norm. That's not what's expected to be. So what we're talking about is an adult that is involved in these areas, promoting the child, supporting the child through these phases of life, from infant up until adulthood, when the child becomes an adult. So
Wow,
it's not, yes,
that's deep, because parenting is not something. When I was growing up, yeah, we talk about parents, but the word parenting was not consciously mentioned.
yeah,
It's more like now awareness is. So from what you have just said, Tinuka, that means there are so many people that are actually not biological children but parented children, you know
yes, there
or are
are,
parenting children right now. And then I
yeah,
think that should also be an encouragement to people that are adopting, and people who feel like, oh, is this person your child? Of course,
mm,
whoever you are parenting, if you are parenting someone, that person is your child.
definitely, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very good. And then you talk about providing and so on. We're going to get to that because some parents, it is well. So,
Yeah.
but let's talk about why is it important to have knowledge about parenting? Like you are a consultant now, you
Yeah.
train to be a consultant, you have the knowledge, and then you became a thing. And people feel that, okay, yeah, you just have children and then you are a parent, you are very good at parenting. Why is it important for us to have knowledge about parenting?
Okay, so I'll take a go at that. The reason why it is important to have knowledge, if you look at everything that Tinuke has just explained, parenting is a big deal. And if we see the child as the future, just the way we use the normal cliche, we say that the child is the future of tomorrow. If we see the child as whatever the adult becomes starts from childhood. So it means that if we are going to get into the business of parenting, it's something we have to actually equip ourselves with the right knowledge and the right skills. Just like you have actually said, having a child does not automatically mean that you are parenting. Parenting is something we have to do intentionally. And the reason why it is important to acquire that, the skills and the knowledge for parenting is because number one, it helps you to understand the developmental areas and stages of these children. Then if you notice, every time we need to buy like an appliance, we go through reviews, we check about the appliance, and we are trying to check the prices, how this thing works. And this appliance oftentimes comes with a manual. But unfortunately, no child is born with a manual to say, this is my manual and this is how you should work with me to achieve what you want. Just the way maybe if I buy a gas or a washing machine, I go through the manual because I need that washing machine to work optimally. But for the child, it is not so. So you have a child, and most times you are clueless. So parenting becomes a skill that has to be learned. And so when you understand the developmental stages of these children and all the developmental areas, just like the way Tinuke has mentioned, the physical, the cognitive, emotional, social, and all of that, it will help you understand, okay, the milestones, what should I be looking out for with this child? What should be my expectations? You have real expectations, because oftentimes we have parents who have expectations that are not right for the children. Maybe the expectations are too high. The children are still too young for you to have these expectations. And that is because you do not understand what it means to be the parent of that child, or the parenting skill. Or we have very low expectations for children we should be expecting more from. So these are all the things that having knowledge about parenting helps us. And then it even helps you as a parent to have the right attitude. For instance, if I do not understand how to parent a toddler, I will consistently be frustrated. I will always be frustrated about what the toddler does, because I won't understand what stage of development is this toddler working on. What should I do? So parenting needs, in fact, it has to be learned. And none of us come as parents. It's not a natural thing. Okay, there is a natural aspect of wanting to protect your young, but then there is no natural skill that comes with parenting. It's something we learn. We learn how to read and write.
Wow, that's powerful. When you talk about something, things you learn so that you know what to look out for. Some of us didn't really know what to look out for. We just saw some things springing up, and then you're like, did he just do that? Where did you learn that from? How did you? But I'm sure if you have the skill, like you're saying, that's why you people do what you do, because you are able to give skills to people, and so that they know. Well, I'm gonna be talking with you guys too after the program, because I need to learn certain things, because some things are coming up, and sometimes with the way we undo what happened. My second son came out yesterday. We just decided I was in my room, and I called him and I said, oh yeah, we've not had what I one talk for a while like this. And I'm like, okay, so this, and then I said, okay, there was this girl that we talked about that time. We didn't conclude how close are you people? How is your friendship going? And he said something. He said, Mom, but the last time I talked with you about it, you just blew the whole thing out. Like, this is a big deal. That's why I don't want to come talk to you about it again. Oh, I was so ashamed of myself. And I said, I said, I'm really sorry if you feel that way. I said, but I'm a parent. I'm still learning to be parent.
It's even good that he was expressive. It's even good that he was able to tell you.
Yeah, because so many children just... Okay, Tinuke, you said something.
I said I thought you were going to talk about the fact that he was mute, because that's another aspect, that he wasn't open. So like you said, that's the good thing that he was expressing.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I did not even notice that he was mute about the whole thing. I just thought, okay, I've been concentrating on the senior brother because we're preparing college and everything like that. And then I felt, okay, so I was like, okay. And then I was proud of myself later that I was able to apologize So
Yes.
I said, okay, let's leave whatever has gone. Okay, so I'm sorry that I blow it out. Sometimes as parent, you get there too, that you just do something. So, okay, so
Exactly.
let's talk now. I'm listening. I said, oh, mommy, put on the light. I said, no, I want us to talk in a dim environment. And I was able to learn a lot. So, but maybe because I was preparing for you guys, it helped me yesterday. So it helped me yesterday. And then expectation, you talk about expectation is very powerful. When my
Yeah.
children were small, there was certain expectation that I want, like, oh, we are Christians, this is a Christian family, and so on. So when I had a particular music, I was like, what is that, a Christian song? What is that coming from? So we learn from what you said to know that
Yeah.
sometimes it's okay for them to do this because they're
Yes.
children. So let's
Yes.
talk about love. Let's talk about love and discipline. How do we show love to the children? What can we do as parents to show love to our children?
Okay. I think, and when we're talking about love, showing love to anybody, but since we're talking about children, when you want to show love to children, the first thing we need to realize is that um, it's not about you. It's not about how you want to show love. It's about what the child sees as love, as in how the
Mm,
child receives love and everything. So it's not just about, oh, I buy, those are part of the things, part of the ways we show love to our children are being paying attention to them, being there for them, giving undivided attention and everything. But there's something we call love languages. I'm sure you've heard about it, and a lot of people have heard about it. Now, love languages are basically, it's just when you say a language is just a way in which a child feels loved, a way in which the person feels loved. So that's what the love languages are. So for us to understand what our children's love languages are, there's going to be a need for us to observe. There's going to be a need for us to ask questions. So it's not something that we just know. We have to study our children. I'm just going to run through some of the love languages. The first love language with no other of importance is physical touch. So this is when some children love to be hugged, they love to be touched, they love to be held, and all that. Now, one thing we should note also is that these five love languages I'm supposed to mention, we need to give our children doses of all of them. So it's not like your child's love language is for physical touch and that is all. They need doses of every one of them. But what it just means is that there's one primary one that speaks more to the child, and that is what we should focus on. That is what we give to the child, and the child understands and realizes that I am loved. So physical touch, some people like to be touched, some people like to be held and everything. But with that, there are also different ways in which we show that as a child matures from one stage to another, it changes how you show this love to the child, how you express it changes. For example, I may want to give my 2-year-old son a hug, cuddles, kisses up until 6 years. But there will come a time when, even though that's his primary love language, I have to be careful of how where I'm doing it, how I'm doing it, and everything, because you'll now start with the same boy that likes that. Then you're doing it in front of his friends, and he's like he's feeling embarrassed. He's getting to the stage where what his peers feel about him really matters. That's a stage of development that is inborn. He gets to a stage where it matters. So at that stage, you may have to really study the children, their moods and everything, and the timing of how you express that. Another love language is quality time. So some people just want you to be there for them. Just spend time with me, just hold me, just be present. I want to know you're present. And this is very important. In being present is not just being in that environment, because you need to give your time and know that I'm here for you. You're answering them, you're dropping your phones for that period of time. So sometimes we think children don't realize when we are distracted. There was a time my child said, me, I'm always on Instagram. My husband is always on something, and they're noticing. So we just feel they are watching cartoons or they are playing and they're just distracted. But they know these things. And sometimes, how do we know these love languages? By the questions they ask, by the things they say that bother them. So if a child is particular, say, "Mommy, you have not talked to me. Mommy, you have not done this. Mommy," and is wanting hugs, you can actually use that to detect what the child's love language is. Then another love language is words of affirmation. Words of affirmation. A child wants to know that I am good, I'm good at this, you did this well, you can do it, and all that. Remember, I said that every child needs all of this. So every child needs to be affirmed.
Mm.
There is a particular child that when you use hard words for them, it breaks them more than another child who doesn't have that language as well, receiving love. Another one, just to run through, another one is gifts, giving gifts. So this can be a little bit tricky because you don't want it to seem like it's a bribe or anything. Giving gifts, and when you give gifts to children, make a ceremony around it. Don't just give them gifts and just say take. Make a ceremony, let them know so that they get to appreciate it and it doesn't become like an entitlement to them and all that. Then what's acts of service? Acts of service. And the rule of thumb for acts of service really is doing things that they can't do for themselves. So it's not like a child that can wash his plates, like a teenager. You can't say, I'm doing an act of I'm washing your plates for you and everything. So basically, speaking to your child's love language, speaking to that's how to express love, giving them time, giving them attention. Every child needs this to thrive, needs this to feel a sense of worth, self-worth, a sense of belonging. So those are basically
And just to add to what Tinuke has said, other ways that as parents we can show love, aside the five love languages, to ensure that as parents we try to provide basic needs that these children need. So we provide food, we provide shelter. Of course, I know that especially in this part of the world that it's difficult for some parents to be able to provide this, but you want to communicate to your child that I know as a parent that you need this thing. This is so what I'm supposed to do to give you education, to give you shelter, to give you food, to ensure that you're warm or whatever. And then another way to still show love, like she has mentioned, the time, the attention we give to the children, because attention just speaks to I value you. And to be interested in what matters to them, to just show that, see, whatever thing that to you as a parent may seem very flippant is the reality of your child. So if your child is trying to say to you in class, this happens to me, don't just dismiss it and say, what do you know? What's there? People are still children. So when the child sees that you are interested about what happens to them, those are ways we can show love. And this cuts across all ages. I have 3 teenagers. My first is 17, and I noticed that even my 17-year-old, who sometimes wants to act like a big girl, still needs me to be her cheerleader, still needs me to affirm her, still needs to know that even though she may be feeling emotionally, maybe doing something, that I am available to her. So it's basically being physically and emotionally available to your child. I think to say I am here, but then I am on my phone. But then I want to be emotionally and physically available. So those are ways we can show the children that we love them.
Wow. I was going to ask the next question about how to balance time, especially how to give attention. But it has already been answered even in the question you answered, because you talked about quality time. Some parents, especially like in America, a lot of parents are busy doing a whole lot of things because they have to leave. And then even for me that I'm into full-time ministry and I don't have the other jobs like people do, I realize that there is always so much. I have 3 grown boys. This one is going to soccer. I have to take this one here. I have to come back from school. I'm always like, sometimes my head is just so hot, all by myself, trying to do everything that I can do. But the thing is, you talk about quality time. So quality time is not the amount of time, is the quality of the time, to say that even if I spend 10 minutes with my child, it's a 10 minutes that is worth it. Like I had to call my son yesterday. It's a 10 minute that is worth it, not necessarily giving 24 hours. Because I was going to say for people that are in boarding school, that go to boarding school, but the time that they come home, the parents.
Exactly.
Okay. So we took care of the attention point. Or do you want to add something to it? Because I feel that attention is very, very strong. Some people don't know when their children start smoking, when their children get on drugs, when their children start behaving like prostitutes, when their children start failing. Some people do not give this attention. Can you talk more about giving specific attention?
Okay, so like what we know, we started from the place of love, and the fact is that you can't exactly say you love your child without giving attention. Because then, okay, so let me just quote what the Bible said. The Bible would say that where your treasure is, that is where your heart is. So you cannot say your children are your treasure. And then, of course, we know that where our heart is still where, in quote, our time is. And like you said, it's not a thing about 24 hours because we have things we do, we have jobs we do. We even need to give ourselves me time. So you need to replenish to be able to help your children. But then the attention means that you are not glossing over, as in you are not just brooding. You are seeing each child. So if you have more than like Tinuke and I, we have she has 3, I have 4. All 4 of my kids are not the same. So it's not a one cap fits all. So your ability to be able to have, it takes time to observe. Like when sometimes I tease my children, and sometimes I say to one, I say, you are tired, and they go, Mama, how do you know I'm tired? How can you tell I'm tired? I said, because I can tell your facial expression. One blinks slowly, one begins to blink slowly when they're tired, another one becomes restless. So, and that takes your being able to observe. Remember, when we talk about parenting, for all these things we are talking about, it has to just be intentional. So there is no way we can say all these things, whether it's love, whether it's giving attention or parenting. It has to be deliberate, intentional. It is when you are intentional that you observe. It's when you observe that you give attention. And then it is from giving attention that you can notice, one, the personalities of your children, their behavioral patterns, what they do, how they react and respond. And that is when you can begin to tell the red flags when it begins to show up. Like I do a lot of talks to parents and teenagers about their mental health. And sometimes parents are clueless. For instance, when you notice a child who ordinarily is boisterous, will come to the sitting room, play and talk with you, all of a sudden, that child does not want to have interactions. It takes a parent who is observant to know something is not adding up. Or your son who likes to eat, who likes healthy meals, all of a sudden he becomes a picky eater or misses meals. So it takes attention. So if we do not give attention, it's when we give our children nourish, they blossom. They have self-confidence. That's what attention does. However, it is a tricky thing. Attention can be tricky. Too much of attention, and we raise brats, children who feel entitled, children with whom we have communicated that the universe revolves around you, which is unhealthy. And if we still give little attention, we are going to still maybe create rebellious children, children who will do anything to get attention, or children who are so insecure and may now become victims of pedophiles or drug abuse or all of that. So it's just to be able to have that healthy balance where we make our children know that you mean a lot to. At the same time, the world does not revolve around you.
Oh, that's very good. That's very, you mentioned something very key about being intentional about something. It's very important that we live our life being intentional about things. We just don't let things happen to us. Intentional people make things happen. So that's the thing. And then thank you so much for talking about the love languages and the thing. People ask me, what is your love language? I say, well, for me, everything is in the love. Yeah, because if this thing that we talk about children, if even spouses do to themselves, their relationship will be better for it. Not when the man is sitting down, the woman is on her phone, and the man is even standing, he wants to hug his wife and everything, and the wife is just on her phone or sometimes praying in the spirit. When duty calls for the physical. So thank you so much. So, but how do we balance this? How do we balance love with discipline? Because sometimes my children will be like, Mom, you are so mean. And I'm like, yeah, when the Bible says the one that the father loves is chastised. So how do we balance love and discipline?
Okay, first and foremost, we need to understand what discipline is. So discipline is basically just training a child to fit a particular role or setting that we want for them. So it's training. It's not discipline is not putting a child down or making a child feel less or small or making yourself show that I am the boss here. I am the boss around here. So when it comes to discipline, I think the family, first you have to know what you people have as a goal. What is important to us as a family? What matters to us most as a family and everything? What are our goals? What's our aim? What do we stand for? Yeah, what are our values? What do we stand for? And when you have those, then it's going to be easy for you to now say, okay, these are the things that are a no-no. These are the things that are, these are the boundaries we are setting. So because if you don't have goals, it's just like anything goes. If I don't feel good about it, I beat you and I don't even know the reason. I don't know. But first, having family values, as in what do we stand for as a family? Then this another thing in with discipline is that I think she mentioned it about love. Just as we said, for love, it's not one cap fits all. For discipline, it's not one cap fits all. It's not one cap fits all. So what an introverted child, what you give an introverted child as a form of discipline may not work for someone that is extroverted and everything. Let me just give an example. Someone growing up, and even when I had experiences in the classroom, there are some children that when you tell them to go and do sit in one corner, you have just made their day. As in, that's just the truth. You have just made their day. So this still boils down to, in discipline, you still need to understand your child. So we cannot run away from that observation. We cannot run away from understanding our children. So you understand your child and set the rules or the boundaries based on what you have agreed on collectively. And what it does when you agree collectively, where there's an agreement, especially for teenagers, most times they feel rebellious when they are not involved in it. So it's just like you're imposing rules, imposing one rule or the other. But when they are involved in it, okay, this is our family, this is what we stand for as a family. And when this happens, this is what is a no-no for us. And when this happens, these are the consequences. They should be involved in the consequences. And when they're involved in certain consequences for themselves, as in, the truth is that it's more, we did this together, we discussed this. It doesn't mean you must agree with every consequence they say and everything, but they should feel that they were involved in the process. And when that happens, they don't feel like when you want to discipline them, they don't feel like you just came out of nowhere and imposed these things on them. Then in setting rules and boundaries, as much as possible, let's look for what matters, what really matters to us. So that it's not like every small thing you're nitpicking and everything. So what matters to us as a family? Values, things like maybe lying, things like being honest, things like hard work and all that. So those are the things. The truth is that discipline is very, very, very long and wide to talk about discipline. But basically, those are some of the things we can look at when we're disciplined. Then you talk about balancing it with love. I've said when the child understands where you're coming from, then
That's very powerful. So you don't, when you set the rules, You don't break the rule yourself. When you said, if a child lies, we do this.
Yeah.
And so they know what is coming.
Yeah.
And then you're standing to instill the punishment as you've talked about. So you mentioned about training. Yeah, of course, training is correction. Because this is where, I mean, different part of the world and different culture, this is where we need to define things, which is taking me to my next question about balancing. How do you discipline children without abusing? There's a story of a boy that had done something in the afternoon and the dad wasn't home. So the dad got home late in the night and the mom told the dad what the son had done. And the dad went into the boy's room and started beating the boy. Of course, the boy woke up and everything like that. And then the dad said, "Do you know why I'm beating you?" And the son said, "Yeah, because I'm sleeping. You are beating me because I'm sleeping." So how do we do that? And then sometimes to parents, we get agitated over certain things. And then like, who did that? Sometimes we have not even calmed down to know what happened.
Yeah.
We just come up and it's like beat, beat, beat. And then some parents too, like a father may be maybe drug addict or alcoholic, and then he comes home and every time, like even when a child is taking a plate or a cup and the cup breaks, which is normal, the father wants to kill the child, the mother wants to kill the child. How do we discipline our children without abusing them?
Okay, so I think first of all is for us as parents to be able to make the distinction between when a child does what a child would do, just like you have mentioned, and when a child is being intentionally difficult, disobedient, or rebellious. So there are two different things. So, for instance, a child, a 10-year-old or an 8-year-old can be in the kitchen doing the dishes and mistakenly something can fall and break. I do not see that as something a parent should begin to discipline the child about. It happens. It can even happen to you as a parent. But for instance, if that child is washing that plate and playing, and then you say to that child, be careful, don't hold it that way, and the child insists out of rebellion or disobedience or defiance, and then that thing breaks, then there are consequences. So, but as parents, it happens to all of us. Most times, I say to parents when we train, I say sometimes as parents, we can be bullies. We sometimes as parents, even though as much as we tell our children, don't be a bully, don't allow bullies, but we become the bullies in the sense that something happens and you go at your child. You are frustrated at office or at work or on the road or something. And who is the easy person you pounce on? You let out your frustration on. Of course, not your boss, because you can't dare that. So who is the victim? Who is the easy person? The child, the children. So you are frustrated, you come home for the slightest thing that may not even require to bring down the house, you are yelling, you are throwing tantrums and all of that. So to just avoid that abuse, because abuse is not only when it is physical, it's not when we got the child and start to hit. Abuse can be verbal. For instance, in our culture, we grew up with a lot of parents asking us, are you okay? Are you mad? So as much as, okay, culturally, we grew up in that environment and it started looking like normal, but it is not normal, because some of those questions would make the child second guess himself. It's reduced our self-esteem, and then you grow as adults and people are wondering, why are people from this so and so place? How come they seem timid and oppressive? It's starting from the parenting style. So verbally abusive to our children or even emotionally abusive. So the child needs your attention, and the only way to get at the child is to withdraw your attention or withdraw your emotions or put up a cold exterior. All those things are abuse. So what I would say first of all, for us not to move from the place of discipline, and if we change the perception that discipline is not necessarily punishment, is not to be punitive, is not to say to your child, I will show you I'm your mother, therefore I will make you suffer. By the time I am through with you, you will know, the way we say it here, you will know that I'm your mother. That is punitive. Discipline is about training, about correction, about remodeling. So you have something at the back of your mind that you want this child to become. And to do that, it's not something you do huffing and puffing. So when you see yourself, and that is why, like in mental health, we say to ourselves, is for you to first of all understand your emotions, have self-regulation, have in quotes emotional intelligence. So when you see yourself getting into those boundaries that work you up, what are your coping mechanisms? Is it to take a walk, to calm down, to count 1 to 10? Because it is wrong. It becomes abusive to discipline a child when you are angry. So it is in that anger, that heat, that we become abusive, that we hit. We don't care where we're hitting. We say things, we don't care what we are saying. We do things and we are causing damage instead of remodeling. So the main thing for us is to calm down. And the easy way is you can take a deep breath, count 1 to 10. And then by the time you start to ask the child, do you know why I am going to do A, B, C to you? You will discover that coming down. So that the child, ask the children, do you know why I'm going to do this? The child, like you said, will say something different. They don't even understand. But when you bring them to the same page, like Tinuke said, based on our ground rules, these are the consequences. Then you can go ahead to discipline. And then let the child know, see, the Bible says that he who the Lord loves, he chastises. Let's not forget that word love. So it means if I think I'm being chastised of the Lord, one thing it reassures me of is that God loves me. Therefore, our children, oftentimes, because of the way we go about discipline, they think that they have to be good for us to love them. And that is performance-based love, which is unhealthy. So we have to communicate to our children, you know why I'm going to discipline you? Because I love you. And because I love you, I do not want you to end up like this. And then
Wow, powerful. You talk about communication, which I think is also very important. As a marriage counselor, I just see like all of these things you're saying. If even couples put it to work, their relationship would be better. And when their relationship is better as couple, is transferred to the children as well to have a happy home. I mean, you talk nicely. I've learned that it worked in my family with my children to talk nicely. Let's talk about this issue. What do you think? Even yourself, what do you think? And when you're talking about goals and so on, I remember a few birthdays ago for me, my children were talking, and my first son said, Mom, they were talking about me. And my first son said, Mom, sometimes you do things, you discipline, or sometimes it's painful, but we know that there is a future that you want for us, and you are building us for that future. So because I'm always telling them, if you leave a plant to grow, the plant will grow anyhow and will not be beautiful. But you have to weed, you have to cut, you have to trim. That's what makes the plant. So I explain why I have to do the things that I do. And that is what both of you have just talked today. It's very important that we carry our children along from when they are little, because it's not when they become teenagers and it's so difficult.
A stitch in time saves 9.
So then how important, let's talk about rebellious children. Some people are dealing with rebellious children right now. Like, go sit down there, the child is saying, I don't. Sometimes I think it's only teenagers, but I've seen people's children, even little children, when the mother will say, go sit down, and the child, I'm not, my children, sometimes I've said it 2 times. I must not repeat it the 3rd time. Why is it that? How do you deal, especially children that are now into all kind of vices, drug, and so on? What can parents do?
Okay, as much as this is not because of the angle in which you are setting the question, it's more like something has already happened. So it's not like how can I do this thing but if we're to go into reality, like you said, most of these things, it's not even just teenagers. As in, I have seen 4-year-olds, I've seen 5-year-olds, 2-year-olds that tell their mother to shut up and everything. We have seen this thing where, as in, she told me an incident where a child, maybe an 11 or 13-year-old, told her mom, his mom, that will you just keep quiet? And the mom was laughing.
Yeah.
And everything. So it looks so strange. In fact, my eyes popped out. But these are things that happen. These are things that we see and all that. But the truth is that apart from the fact that there may have been problems with the foundation, where you have been hovering, you have made the child feel like everything revolves around you. This world is all about me and all that. And then automatically, like you said, when they now become teenagers, you expect something automatic, that something will just transform them and they will become these sweet angels and everything. At a point where a lot of hormones and a lot of things are happening in them that they themselves may not even understand them at that point. So it starts with that. Then I think even if you have derailed, even if you have gotten to the point where you just have to retrace your steps, you need to retrace your steps. And like I said, this is it. This is our goal. This is what we stand for as a family. And be firm. For older children, even for younger children, we may want to also consider letting them go through natural consequences. So consequences that do not harm or hurt them, but natural consequences, and it differs for different ages. For example, maybe for like a 6 or 7-year-old, we're going out and I say, pack your snack. Make sure you pack your snack. And I said it twice, and she kept playing and got distracted. And then we go out and no snack. I will not buy anything for you. You will have to face the natural consequence of not having to eat your snack. For older children, teenagers, you may have to face the consequence of spending a night in the police station and everything. But they need to come to the point where they know that you mean this thing. And one of the things that also that makes discipline difficult is we're not consistent. We're not consistent with our punishment. So you say this today, we say this tomorrow. Today the child does this, you're there, he faces the consequences. Tomorrow he does it, you're like, I'm tired, I better go away. As in, I don't have time, I'm too tired. So those kind of things are things that we need to sit down, be consistent, and we can never overemphasize the fact that we need to be deliberate. We need to be consistent. But another important thing is that you need to listen to the child. Because most of the time, when a child is being rebellious, there's something that is missing. So as much as the child is angry, as much as the child is saying it in a wrong way, listen. What is the problem? What is the problem? Is it something that can be solved? Is there something inherent that is causing this reaction? She mentioned the fact that some people just want to get attention. So any way I get it, it can be negative. I don't care. I just want to know that, realize that when I throw times, that is when you are facing me. You have my time. You focus on me. So we have to be basically consistent in our discipline and everything. Understand the child, where he's coming from, and if it's something, there may be need to seek counsel from professionals, from psychologists and everything, if it becomes through this thing. But first and foremost, understand the child, listen to the child. And as you're listening to the child, you just make the child know that this thing is unacceptable. And follow through with the consequences set. Follow through.
That means that when you are setting your consequences, you have to set realistic consequences. Because I have heard mothers who would say to maybe a 5-year-old, if you don't do this, you will not eat breakfast and lunch. And you know it's practically impossible. So, and then these children, sometimes they are going to test boundaries. So you have strong-willed children who will test the boundaries. And what we always say is, your consequences, when you say them, start. Don't say to yourself, after 3 times, after the child has tested me 3 times, and I'll now start. If that is what you want to do, then you communicate that to the child. And then kindness is important. You can be kind and firm. You don't have to. Firmness does not mean meanness, because what I see prevalent now in our society is parents working so hard to be friends with their children like buddies. So Tinuke is my friend. I can't discipline Tinuke because we are friends. But if I am a parent, I am available to you, but I am your mother. They are two different things. Friends don't discipline each other. So parents who try to be friends and buddies and always trying to make the child feel happy, because we have parents who go to, I want my child to be happy because I want my child to be happy, you can become overindulgent. So the need for consistency and realistic consequences are important.
Well, you have just said it. That balance is very important. We're not going to the extreme of, okay, I'm your friend, I'm your mom first, or I'm your dad first, and then discipline. Well, we can not even talk about today where even some parents, the mother is saying, no, don't do this, and the father is saying something else. I want us to quickly talk, we don't have much time, but I want us to quickly talk about that. How do parents work together? Because I've seen such thing when the mother will say, no, you are not, you are grounded. And the father will say, you can go. I'll talk to your mom. What is the danger?
Okay, so you know the thing, I know I'm laughing because oftentimes parents do not even understand how clever and smart even your 3-year-old can be. And I think without meaning any bad intention, sometimes children can be very manipulative. So as parents, if we know that children can be smart, clever, or even manipulative, it helps. When my children were younger, before my husband and I, in quotes, understood some of the things children can do. So my child comes to me and say, Mama, can I have the chocolates in the fridge? Then I wouldn't even have known she had asked her dad. She comes to me first and I said, no, you just had a snack, so you can't have the chocolate in the fridge. So she just walks away. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, such a nice, compliant child. She just goes to her father, who is engrossed in doing something, and say, Papa, can I have the chocolate in the fridge? Sure, why not? And the next thing I see her eat the chocolate, and I'm like, but I asked you not to. She said, but Papa said I can have it. And so we're like, oh, these kids are just, using us. So what we started doing, when she comes to me and says, can I have so and so? I said, what did Papa say? Papa, I say no. So parents have to agree, have a front. It doesn't necessarily mean that maybe what my husband is saying at that time, I totally agree with, but I don't have to do that in front of the child. So it's for us to present a unified front. And when children see that they cannot, go to this parent and that, they will begin to respect that. So parents just need to have that unified front. It helps. It helps when it has to do with discipline.
Wow, that's very important. So even parent, I was going to ask about single parent, but even single parent that are divorced or separated, they can have a unified voice for the sake of their children, because divided voice is going to affect the children negatively. And if it's a single parent, if they put into practice all the things you have mentioned, they can successfully bring up their child to be a standing and reckon to be with child. Let's quickly talk about teenage peer pressure. We say peer pressure, but adults too have peer pressure. When a woman wants to make this because he has seen somebody else or a friend, and then we make peer pressure look like children's thing. But it's always adult. Somebody bought a car, you're like, that person bought this. Oh, he bought the latest Benz. Okay, I think I can do that too. It's a peer pressure on its own. So, but let's bring it to children's own. How do we help children overcome peer pressure, especially on the negative side?
Okay. So now that you just clarified it, because I wanted to say that peer pressure is not entirely a bad thing. So peer pressure can be positive in the sense that I have 3 teenagers. So they had this friend who would always come to the house to spend time with them. And so once I had them conversing, and then the friend says, you guys like to read. Why are you always reading? And then they show surprise, you mean you don't read? She said, no, I don't read. I'd rather watch that book as a movie. And then they started telling her, my mom said, reading does X, Y, Z. And then all of a sudden she said, okay, let me try. So that's peer pressure. And today she comes to my house. She's always like, I want to read. Now I read. So that's positive peer pressure. But then peer pressure is just about the fact that as human beings, we are gregarious in nature. We are social beings. We want to feel accepted. We want that sense of belonging. Nobody wants to feel like they're isolated. And so because we want acceptance, oftentimes we now begin to succumb to peer pressure. So for our teenagers, it's a normal thing for them want to fit in. They don't want to be laughed at. They don't want to be ridiculed. But then it begins from home, as in you start early when they are still younger. You make them see the uniqueness of who they are, and then you help them to develop a healthy self-esteem. Healthy self-esteem does not necessarily mean, I tell parents some things are, see, you choose your words and your battle. So if your child says to you, this is the skirt that is in vogue, for goodness sake, there is no need bringing down the heavens for her to wear the skirt in vogue in 1982. So that does not mean trying to make your child stand against the peers. If this is what is trending, why not? If it aligns with your family values. So, but then if the child has a healthy self-esteem, which lies in us as parents to give to the child, oftentimes they are going to be stronger overcoming peer pressure. And then let's make communication open, because peer pressure is not something you deal with once. Even as adults, you consistently deal with peer pressure. So the child may overcome a particular peer pressure, doesn't mean that they won't overcome others. But if communication is open, your child can come to you to say, this is how I'm feeling about what is going on. I'm feeling a bit inferior because my classmates or my friends have this. Like when my children wanted phones, we had husband and I, we have a policy around having phones until a particular age. So they went on and on. They had strong peer pressure why they should have phones. But then we walked them through, not by dominating or being a dictator. We walked them through the reason why we felt that this is not yet the time. Today, my two older kids are the advocates. They are the advocates for me, for their younger siblings, why it is important for them not to have phones at this age. And I'm just lounging. So that is what we can do. Leave communication open, so that they can come to us. We don't ridicule their emotions. So when your teenage child is feeling, in quotes, inferior because they do not feel they fit in based on peer pressure, let's not ridicule the emotion. Let's not say, is that why you're feeling like this? I beg, I have bigger things to think about. So if we make it easy for them to come to us, they would always overcome peer pressure.
Wow, you talked about that peer pressure thing, and I like the way you talk about the phone and the social media, because that's another big issue. In
Yes.
America, my last child is in is in middle school. That'll be JSS. And then he was like, oh, I want phone. So I said, no, gone through your senior brothers. Why do you need a phone? What do
Exactly.
you need a phone for? And then we came to let him see that he doesn't need a phone. But his senior ones that are in like C, yeah, those ones in high school, they need the phone because sometimes their teachers are teaching and then say, bring your phone out and Google this.
Okay.
Check this on the system. I didn't do the phone initially. I was like, no, finish, but I had to do that. And that thing had to be monitored, because you don't allow your children to just have anything on phone, get on whatever social media. I was telling my son, I said, you are dependent. That means I'm responsible for you. While I'm
Exactly.
responsible for you, you can't just do anything that you want. I have to protect you. And like
Exactly.
you said, communication is still key. So what about sibling rivalry? You have in a family, there will be that child that will be so loving, there will be that child that will be so. How do you avoid sibling rivalry?
Okay. Truth to be told is that once you have more than one child, once you have more than one child, there is no way you will not have sibling rivalry.
Rivalry.
It doesn't have to be the violent ones that they become so violent towards each other or lethargic towards each other, but sibling rivalry will take place. But one of the things we can do to help curb sibling rivalry, for example, is creating a sense of family, as in our values about family. So and so is not allowed. Such and such words, you must not use these words. There's something I tell my children. I say, just as the Bible says that you cannot say you love me if you don't love the person, as in that you can see. I said, how can you? I said, you have been given an opportunity to practice love with someone with you and everything. You have been given the opportunity. So you can't come and start saying you're loving when the person with you, you are still this thing. How can you? So basically, setting rules and making them know this is a no in our family. No bullying. Certain kind of words cannot be used, and we can't underestimate setting examples. So being a model, a role model. So you cannot speak to your children in a certain way and expect them to react a different way to their siblings. So there have been sometimes in my life, and I've seen in children, sometimes in school, when a child is doing certain things, you are almost saying there's something happening at home. As in there must be something happening for this child to be reacting this way. It's not always the case, but most times that's the case. So you have to show an example. I read something and they said there's a new golden rule. Before they say do to others as you want them to do unto you. But the new golden rule is do to your children what you want other people to do to them. So you feel you have the full right to abuse your children, say things. But when the other person says it, if the teacher just says being a fraction of that thing, you go bonkers. And those are things your children, they learn more. Children learn more by example than what you say. So it's very important that you model good behavior. You model how to express anger. You model how to react to emotions. Emotions are right. You acknowledge the fact that these emotions, there's nothing wrong with this emotion. But how do you express it? Express in a way that you don't hurt others or hurt yourself, because some people express emotions by hurting themselves. So it's very important that your children understand that and you model it for them. I don't know if she has.
Yeah, okay. So for sibling rivalry, of course, like you said, once you have more than one, so sibling rivalry, it's not something we can avoid. But then see what I think should work for parents. First of all, every parent should understand that fairness is the bedrock. Let every child know that you, as the parent, you are fair, meaning that what is good for the goose is good for the gander. You don't show favoritism. No matter whose ox is God, the same consequence that you have set out. So not when it has to do with child A, who somehow is your favorite, you now begin to bend the rules, and the children can see this. And when children feel that parents have favorites, the sibling rivalry increases because everybody is trying to get the attention of mommy and daddy, and that is what causes sibling rivalry. The second thing is when parents become performance-based parents. So I love you when you score well in school, but I reduce my love when you do not really score well. Then your brother who has scored well, the child can see, oh, this is my son in whom I am well pleased. So you sibling rivalry. So the one who feels like I'm not getting enough love begins to, hit on the other one. And then sometimes it's about attention. So when children see that you are fair, you do not have favorites, it's not a performance-based love that you are portioning to them. Communicate to them, you will discover that when you communicate to them that, see, you all are my children and you equally mean the same thing. You let them their different strengths. You are physically strong, and when I need this, you help me. And you are so and so. You have eye for detail. When they see that all of them, that you have surrounded you with their strength, and you communicate not only with one particular child. Oh, this my child. And then you tell the story of how you had that. Children love to hear the stories of how they gave birth to them. Even when they are my 17-year-old,
yes,
slightly blushes when I talk about how I went to the hospital, how big she was. They love to hear this story. But somehow they still listen. They are still paying attention. Oh, we noticed that when it has to do with child number 3, Mama spends 1 hour talking about it. She has this glow on her face. Then when it has to do with child number 4, somehow you are trying to tell them, I didn't plan for you. In fact, I don't even know how you came. If not for God that said you. See, So the child now hears those things, and what do you expect? There is Cain and Abel beginning to happen in your home. So those are, and then when the children are getting at each other, so we are constantly talking. There was only time I told my two younger kids, in fact, I even had to stop calling them Tom and Jerry, because I started calling them Tom and Jerry. They don't physically fight, best of friends, and yet at the same time, they're always getting at each other. So I called them separately. And I said to one, I said, "Do you love me?" And she said, "Yes, Mama, I love you." I said, "Then if you love me, you would love my son. Your brother is my son. So if you love me, you would love my son." And of course, I did the same to the brother. "Do you love me?" He said, "Yes." I said, "If you love me, you will love my daughter. Your sister is my daughter." So it's something you will come, because sibling rivalry does not end in childhood, though. Even into adulthood, you see grown women like us, the sibling rivalry is, it goes on. Whose husband is richer, whose husband is better, whose children are doing well, whose children are, and it has no end. And they pass it on to the children and pass it on to the cousins, and it has no end. It's something as parents we need to nip in the bud.
Thank you. One of the things I notice in all of the conversations we've been having, when a family is, when a couple, when a marriage is dysfunctional, it affects the children.
Yes, it does.
And so the best way first is to help relationship to be better, like couples having good relationship. And then one of the things that I do in my family is I'm always putting it in the mind of my children that there's no I, it's we.
Yeah.
If at the end of the school year, if somebody gets an award, the person is not getting an award for himself. We all have gotten an award. We all have excelled. We all have made mistakes. And I've used that even in my marriage, like when my husband had made mistake, or when I've made mistake, it's always like, let's talk about we. This is our problem. This is our challenge. And it helps when family are together. And then I know there are a lot of dysfunctionality out there, but every woman, every man can still work at your relationship. So I want to thank you guys so much for coming today. But before we go, I want to ask you to talk about briefly about how people can get your consultancy. Some parent may want to, like, okay, yeah, I want to talk with these people. I want to, of course, it's not free. Even in Freetown, you don't buy things free. So, but I'm sure it's considerate, it's something that is affordable. How can parents learn to be a better parent? And then we may be having some parents watching that are having issues with their children that may just need to come. I keep telling people about seeing consultants, seeing therapists, seeing counseling. Those things are very good. They make life better. How can people reach out to you?
Okay, so we have an email address, stretchedu@gmail.com, which is very
Can somebody type that, please?
stretchedu@gmail.com. So once we are contacted via email, we usually respond. And then we are setting up together a WhatsApp group. That Stretch Edu Parents is a WhatsApp group, like forming a community, like a support system for parents, where we will be handling different issues. And those people who belong to our WhatsApp group, of course, when we have our seminars, they would get at a very discounted rate. But then issues like this will be coming up, and then issues that the community would say, "Oh, these are the general issues we are looking at and would want for us to discuss." Those are the things. So those are the two major things. Of course, we have seminars that keep coming up that would always, advertise through our different social media handles. But basically, our email address is the fastest way to get our attention. Yes.
Okay. So I want to say for parents, please, you can get to their email if you need to have consultation time, even if you're not in Nigeria. I'm sure they can work with you.
We can do a virtual session. We do virtual sessions.
Okay, every part of the world, they can reach out to you. It's very important that we're intentional about things, that we're knowledgeable at things, because I mean, there's a program that somebody is having. It's a relationship program. Pastor Benson Ogbe is training people also like mentorship for 3 months, and people have to pay for that. For viewers there, I want to encourage you, please get on that. It's on my page. We put it there. It's starting on the 1st of October if you want to register for that. And on this group, please, parent, please do that. Connect with these people. Mr. Damilola Giwa has put something. Sister Toyin BME Awojobi also has put the email address. Please reach out to these people. And when you get your water, please send it to us, because we like to put it on our page so that people can follow. One of the things that Tinuke and Chidinma have said today, this is intentional. You have to be intentional parent for your children to be better than you are, for your children to excel and be great. You have to be intentional. So part of the being intentional is reach out to this email. Please get consultation. I'm sure you can consult both family or single parent. You consult for them. If you also have school, they can consult for you. For people that are also struggling right now with this COVID thing, children online, children in school, and so on like that, I'm sure they do a lot of things. They can help you figure a lot out on your general child well-being. Thank you so much, Mrs. Tinuke and Mrs. Chidinma.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you. So we'll still be having them another time. But for now, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Good night in Nigeria. And then if you're in the US, good afternoon. God bless you all. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.